Hey, it's Sam Love in the Calumet Wilderness. Happy day after Thanksgiving. You know what that means? It's Opt Outside Day. I'm out here at the southern end of Lake Michigan, the southernmost end of Lake Michigan, and kind of an interesting thing. So you've all heard of Opt Outside, which is this alternative to the capitalistic madness of Black Friday. Well, I've been opting outside longer than most. Yeah, it was 2001, right after the September 11th terrorist attacks, and I'm wondering, why is the president encouraging Americans to go shopping? And I thought, well, I'm going to go take a hike instead. And I came out here to Marquette Park. And like today, I pretty much had the place to myself, so I thought we'd do a quick look around at just some of the natural features of the park and maybe some of the lesser known features of the park as well. So come on along. Before we move on, though, I want to just take a little time to give a memorial to a friend and neighbor of mine who I learned yesterday passed away. My buddy Red, who I've known for probably more than 10 years here, and I'm going to miss this guy for the rest of my life. Every time I think back to him, he was such a unique person. He was such an important person to the social and security fabric of the streets in our immediate neighborhood that this is just a loss that can never be filled. So, Red, buddy, I miss you. It was sculpted by a well-known sculptor, Henry Herring of New York City, and it was installed the very day it showed up in July of 1932. They were in a rush to get this up. I'm always fascinated by representations of Marquette because we don't actually know what he looked like. Sometimes he's this doughy-faced, pious man. Sometimes he's this rugged, bearded explorer. This one's kind of in between, I suppose. No beard. This inscription here at the main entry of the park claims that Marquette did stop here on the first expedition in 1673. I've seen speculation that rather than taking the Des Plaines River to the portage to the Chicago River, that there's speculation that Marquette and company took a southern route through the Sag Valley into the Calumet system and then out to here. But it's also claimed that Marquette stopped here on his second voyage, which was ultimately the one that he passed away on. There's one area historian who thinks we should have a sign up that says Marquette shat here. He was if he did stop here, and I got no skin in this game, but if he did, he would have been in very bad condition by that point. Hey, tell me if there's any cars behind me, okay? No, what's really cool about these woods here is there's all these little fire breaks that have been created that serve as good trails. And although Marquette Drive here is a pretty busy road, it'd be amazing. You can get in these woods here and just not be seen. Oh, car, game off. It really is one of the most beautiful parks in Northwest Indiana. And I'm not just saying that because I live nearby. I'm not saying that because my old man worked here back in the early 60s as a lifeguard. I'm not saying it because I volunteer here to burn parts of it down a few times a year. It's just really a beautiful place. Come on out. This is one of my favorite parts of the savannah here, but I gotta tell you, when you're carrying a 40 or 50 pound pack of water on your back and there's fire all around and smoke all around and you gotta climb that thing, it's a little tiring. It's exhilarating though, who am I kidding? Yeah, get up on top of those dunes and just see lines of fire everywhere. It's pretty amazing. There we go. Let's hit the trail. That structure off to the left is called the Gary Bathing Beach Aquatorium. It was the original beach house back in the 20s when it opened. Somebody's having fun. My father was a lifeguard here, and so he worked out of that building in the early 60s. You can see the wetland in between, and you can see a deer trotting. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Jesus. Wow. And they're all coming this way. All right, again, digression, pause. Let's go check out nature. Somebody's checking me out. So the lagoons are in front of you there. There's a discrepancy about where the original confluence of the Calumet River with Lake Michigan was. It was somewhere out here. And if you've watched the previous videos, you know that the Calumet River system is heavily engineered over the centuries. So its flow is very different from what it originally was. But yeah, there's some speculation as to where the mouth was. Some people think it was in front of us. Pan over here. It's meeting somewhere over there. Other people think that the river actually continued. And again, we have this restored wetland here. And I mean, I could kind of see it from up here, you know. Walk over this hill. Can see up in front of us the gap in the woods. Can definitely get a sense of a river flowing through here many centuries ago. Some people speculate it entered Lake Michigan over there on the west end, what is today Montgomery Street. I have no skin in this battle, and I'm not going to die on any hill. Nice open woods. If this were spring or summer, we'd see all kinds of color. And why? It's because these controlled burns that have been happening for the past years. Well, not the past couple of years, unfortunately. So if you look at this section here, you know, the bright green are the invasives. They get really well adapted and they stick around. On this side though, where there's been burns, you can tell. Few, if any, invasives. And obviously this time of year we don't get all the beautiful spring and summer color, but it's a nice healthy section. Yeah, normally we'd be coming up on controlled burn season, but there's been prohibitions on burns the past 2 years with COVID. Fire does so many amazing things to ecosystems like this. The Native Americans knew this, and it took our modern culture far too long to learn. So you'll notice this side right behind me is much more cluttered and a lot of that sort of mid-level brush. Can't see through the trees all that well. This is a site that hasn't received fire. You know, if we don't use fire, pretty quickly we'll see the negative effects of that. It's going to get really weedy. It's going to get choked out like what you see behind me instead of something more open and beautiful. Fire clears out all this brush. Clears out all these dead leaves that form carpeting on the forest floor here, and just so much opportunity for native plants, native flowers to grow. Yeah, you talk to restorationists, they'll tell you fire's like magic, just bringing back these native landscapes. So it's unfortunate we can't do it. This trail connecting the main part of the park with the western end is known as the Chanute Trail, after Octave Chanute, who was a famous civil engineer in the late 19th century. He really is a rock star engineer of that time. Built a number of innovative bridges over the high ridges of Pennsylvania. I didn't mean to make that rhyme. Chanute's local connection is to a series of hang glider experiments that he did on the beaches around here in the very late 19th century. I don't think it's known for certain where or what exact sand dunes he was hurling himself off of with his flying contraption, but facts are the facts. The hang glider experiments he did out here helped pave the way for the Wright brothers down in Dayton, Ohio. So now I'm on the west end of the park. Now this wasn't added into Marquette Park till after a series of lawsuits in the late teens, 20s, throughout the 30s, and into the early 40s. This had been the home of the Carr family since, not too long after the Civil War. I think they arrived sometime in the 1870s. And then eventually they start building up this recreational infrastructure that people in this growing industrial region could come out and use. It put them right within the sights of the city of Gary and the steel mill, so history wasn't kind to them. Another well-known squatter family out this way was the Sabinskis. And if I'm getting my facts right, my father actually knew a member of that family when he was lifeguarding out here in the 1960s. He said they taught him how to read the woolly caterpillars to do weather forecasts. But the Sabinskis didn't live in this western part. I believe they lived somewhere, in what became the park proper. A phrase that has been used in association with this west part of Marquette Park, and that has been used for over a century, is Coney Island style entertainment. When the city got a hold of this land, the park board, that's what they wanted to develop this into. Redevelopers today keep talking about that, but a lot of folks in the neighborhood, as soon as they hear something like that, they get active and they really bristle about that. So, maybe the old parking lot that we just walked through, but I think these dunes are just far too precious, and these little wetlands in between. So there's also the fact that Lake Street's in shit condition and there's no way we could handle any more traffic that already comes through here. It'd be nice to get some sidewalks in the northern part too.